In the Sound Pattern of English, authored by Noam Chomsky and Maurice Harler, the authors provide a comprehensive theory of phonology, the study of how sounds function within particular languages. This work is foundational in the field of linguistics, laying out a detailed framework for understanding the organization and behavior of speech sounds in English. Chomsky and Harler's approach, often referred to as generative phonology, extends the principles of generative grammar to phonological structures. The central idea is that the sounds of language are governed by rules that transform abstract mental representations of sounds into actual spoken forms. This process occurs systematically and follows principles that can be formalized and predicted. The book is built on the notion that speakers of a language have internalized a set of phonological rules, which govern the pronunciation of words and sentences. These rules operate on underlying forms, which are abstract representations of words, as they exist in the mental lexicon. The authors argue that the underlying form is transformed into the surface form, or the spoken version of a word, by a series of ordered phonological rules. These rules account for various phonetic changes, such as vowel lengthening, consonant deletion, or the insertion of sounds, and they explain how different forms of a word can exist in different contexts without being stored separately in the brain. A key component of the sound pattern of English is the distinction between phonemic and phonetic levels of representation. The phonemic level refers to the abstract mental representations of sounds, while the phonetic level represents the actual sounds produced in speech. Chomsky and Harler propose that the relationship between these two levels is mediated by a set of transformational rules, which convert phonemic forms into phonetic ones. These rules are essential for understanding why certain sounds change in particular environments, or why sounds might be pronounced differently depending on the context in which they appear. The idea of underlying forms is crucial in this framework. For example, the word electric has different pronunciations in electricity and electric. According to Chomsky and Harler, these differences are not stored as separate entries in the speaker's mental lexicon. Instead, they are generated by phonological rules that apply to an underlying form common to both words. The application of these rules explains the variation in pronunciation, showing how complex surface forms can be derived from simpler, more abstract representations. This theory highlights the efficiency of the mental system in managing language, as it reduces the need to store multiple variants of a word. Another important concept in the book is the role of distinctive features in the organization of speech sounds. Chomsky and Harler argue that speech sounds are not simply individual units, but are made up of bundles of distinctive features, such as voicing, place of articulation, and manner of articulation. These features are binary, meaning they can be present or absent in a given sound. The use of distinctive features allows the authors to describe the similarities and differences between sounds in a systematic way. For instance, the sounds P and B are distinguished by the feature of voicing, with P being voiceless and B being voiced. This approach provides a more fine-grained analysis of speech sounds than earlier theories, which treated sounds as indivisible units. In the sound pattern of English, Chomsky and Haller also introduced the concept of markedness, which refers to the relative complexity or simplicity of certain sounds or sound patterns. Marked sounds are those that are less common or more complex, while unmarked sounds are more natural or basic. This concept helps to explain why certain sounds are more likely to undergo changes, or why some sound patterns are more prevalent across languages. For example, voiceless consonants are generally considered unmarked, compared to their voiced counterparts, which are marked. This framework allows the authors to account for asymmetries in the way sounds behave in different languages and within English itself. Chomsky and Haller also emphasize the importance of phonological processes that are sensitive to the structure of syllables. Syllable structure plays a significant role in determining how sounds interact with each other. For example, certain phonological rules apply only within a syllable, while others apply across syllable boundaries. The authors argue that phonological processes such as assimilation, deletion, and insertion are often influenced by the position of a sound within a syllable. Understanding the structure of syllables is crucial for explaining why certain sound changes occur in some contexts, but not in others. One of the most influential aspects of the sound pattern of English is its formalization of phonological rules. Chomsky and Haller present these rules in a precise, algebraic form, similar to the rules used in generative grammar. This formalization allows for a clear and explicit description of the processes that govern the pronunciation of words. The rules are written in terms of distinctive features, and they specify the conditions under which particular phonological transformations take place. This level of formal precision was groundbreaking at the time and set the standard for future research in phonology. Another critical contribution of the book is its discussion of stress and intonation patterns in English. Chomsky and Haller argue that stress is not simply a matter of pitch or volume, but is governed by phonological rules that assign stress based on the hierarchical structure of words and phrases. Stress placement is not arbitrary. Rather, it follows predictable patterns that can be described using formal rules. These rules take into account factors such as syllable weight, word boundaries, and the overall prosodic structure of a sentence. The author's treatment of stress and intonation laid the groundwork for subsequent research in prosody, a subfield of phonology that deals with the rhythm and melody of speech, while the sound pattern of English focuses primarily on the English language. Chomsky and Haller argue that their framework is applicable to other languages as well. They suggest that the principles of generative phonology are universal and can be used to describe the sound systems of any language. The idea that phonological rules and processes are not language-specific, but instead reflect the deeper cognitive structures of the human mind, is a key theme in the book. This universality aligns with Chomsky's broader theory of universal grammar, which posits that all human languages share a common underlying structure. Despite its groundbreaking contributions, the sound pattern of English has been subject to criticism and debate within the linguistic community. Some linguists have argued that the book's reliance on abstract underlying forms and complex rule systems is overly theoretical and divorced from actual speech data. Others have questioned the universality of the rules proposed by Chomsky and Haller, suggesting that phonological patterns vary more across languages than their theory allows for. Nonetheless, the book remains a seminal text in the field of phonology and has had a lasting influence on the study of language.